So in this video, I'm going to explain, because I haven't thought about it when I discussed the home view controller. So here we have the home view controller. And I mentioned briefly that there was a problem that we were actually calling the task, so the task consent, the task eligibility, survey, and so forth. We are calling them from this array. Okay, but I haven't explained what these tasks are and where these tasks are defined. So these are ResearchKit tasks, and that's why we are importing here ResearchKit. And each task is actually defined inside this folder here. So I've grouped them inside a folder called ResearchKit tasks, and these are all the different tasks. So for all the tasks, we have one file for each task, and the only just for the consent task, I've created 3 files, just because it's a little bit more complex, and so I just divided the files in 3 different, the function in 3 different files. Okay, so let's start with the onboarding. Okay. So the onboarding is actually the simplest one, is the shortest one. So this task onboarding, so first of all I want to show you the connection. So this task onboarding is what we actually find in the home view controller. So task onboarding, so that's what actually we are calling here. So here we are actually grabbing all that we have defined inside here, inside the task onboarding. Okay. So when we call that eventually task, we are actually calling this function. So all the ResearchKit tasks are composed of different steps, okay? And as you can see, you will always find these steps here at the top, okay? And each step, generally we will have an introduction step here, which is, let me actually pick up the simulator here on the side. So actually, while I go through the code, so we are looking at the onboarding. So let's click on onboarding. So we have this welcome screen where you can find actually the text here, onboarding survey, this is the title, this is the text, okay? And then each step has an identifier. So this one is called onboarding, next one is called height question, gender, and summary step. Okay? So the next question is about the height here, and ResearchKit is quite helpful because it allows you to have this type of question. It's pretty simple to add it. You can have a look at the official documentation online. So researchkit.org, there is a GitHub repository, and you will be able to find more information here. The only problem and the only issue with this documentation here is that most of the time the documentation is written for Objective-C. That was the language that was actually used a long time ago for iOS development. Right now they're using Swift. Okay, so if we go into the documentation, I don't know exactly where it is. I will just have to look specifically for what I want. But most of the time, the document, as you can see here, is no, not this one. But anyway, sometimes is probably even this one. Yeah, is Objective-C. Is Objective-C, and while we have to write it in Swift, so you cannot basically copy and paste this text here because it will not work. Okay, so this is the only issue. However, the only positive thing is that they have put together in ResearchKit 2 examples app. So I think they are inside here. Yes. So inside here there are 2 apps that you can actually have the Xcode project file, and you can actually install it. The code is written in Swift. So practically, if you find a question, a type of question that you want, or a type of step that you want to import it, you just have to find the file over there and the code over there and just copy and paste it. But let's don't lose too much time, and let's go back here. So we have this height question, we have this gender question, which is called happy question, doesn't really matter, and then we have the summary step. So what do we need to do? Every time we want to add a step, we add it to this array, and then we return this ORK order task, okay? So this is the simplest one because it's just a simple survey. The eligibility one, so the structure is very similar, okay? Because we just have to, we have the intro step, so we define the steps, we define the text, so title, text, and detail text, and then eventually we add all these here. So we add form 1, form 2, form 3, so very similar to what we did before. The only difference here is that we also need to check and we need to define which are the eligibility questions. So if I ask a question in the eligibility survey, I want that the participant actually replied in a certain way. So let's have a look. So in this particular example, the user has to reply yes to the first question, yes to the second question, and no to the third question. This is just an example. We can change that, and we actually can change that in these variables here. So right now, if I press next, you will see eligible, okay? But if I actually change this to yes, and then we scroll down, and we press next, you are ineligible because we have hard-coded here that is yes, yes, and no, the type of question that we want to ask. To add another question is super simple. You just copy this code here, copy and paste it, and then eventually you define what is the other question that you want to ask, and you add it here to the list. You add it here to the form step. Sorry, here first. So here you add another question, okay? Then you have the ineligible and eligible steps. So I was wrong. So you add a question, you copy this one, and you create form item 04. You add another question, and then you have to go back here, okay? And so for form item 04, you will have to explain what is the expected answer, okay? Either yes or no. And then ResearchKit handles all the rest. For the consent, we have 3 files. So first we built the consent, and is again done in steps, okay? So we open the consent document. So we have a summary section, then we have, sorry, not summary section. We have an overview section, we have a data gathering, we have privacy. You can easily remove that. So if you don't want the privacy, you just cancel this file here, and then you go here at the bottom where we add all the section together and you remove the relative one, okay? So let me show you this one as well. So if you go here in the consent, you click here. So this is the welcome, which is actually quite wordy at the moment. I mean, you can of course change it. And if you want to add bullet list, you can do this by just using /t, the dot, and /t, so it just provides like 2 tabs here. So you can click on get started, and then we can go through all the sections. So there is data gathering, there is privacy, data usage, time commitment, study survey, study task, withdrawing. Okay, so all these are very nice because they come with their own image, okay, which of course you can change it, but I don't know, I don't see really the point of doing that. So then you can also add custom section. So for instance, for my IRB, I had to add a cost and benefit section. So you can do that by just adding a type custom. So this is going to be custom. You're going to have a title, a summary, and then you have a content. So what is the difference between summary and content? Well, summary actually could be less wordy and is just a summary about what is this section about, what is this cost and benefit. So it could be like 2 points. You will receive that and you will not have to pay for anything, for example. And then in the content one is actually what is going to be displayed to the user here. So when it's going to review the document, okay, so right now I just copy and paste it because I don't want the user reads twice. But for instance, here you could have a more wordy section, which is all this text here. And so this is the content. And this is what is going to appear also on the final PDF, which is going to be generated on the consent document. But therefore, you can have a summary section which is a bit shorter and a content section which is wordy and is what is actually required for the IRB. Up to you. Right now, just copy and paste it so they are equal. So the user doesn't really have to read twice, because it's nice to have a summary, but at the same time you have to read more than once the kind of the same information. Then you go to the process of reviewing, so agree. And so let's actually go and see what is in the code. So this part here takes into account, does that. So eventually we're going to add a signature here. So we have this part here. So I type my name, I type my surname, and then I add a signature here, and then next, and then welcome aboard. Okay, so I go back here, and then eventually, as I showed you before, the code actually prompts me with the PDF, which the participant can directly share it from here. So this is actually this show PDF, which we are calling after the user has completed the consent section. So here we are actually reviewing the consent, and this is okay. Sorry. So this one task consent actually gets the data from the consent form build, where we have added all the section together, and then we add the signature and the last few parts to the task consent. So like that welcome aboard message with that check animation. So this is what is actually done here. So it wraps around this task consent form build, while this task consent show PDF is what actually gets called once we have completed, once the user has completed the consent tab, and gets called here inside the home view, and here, so it gets called inside here. Okay, so that's okay. Yeah, so consent review here. So this is what actually gets called inside here. So that's all for this video, and that's all for the iOS app. In the next video series, I'm going to actually cover the Watch OS app.